with Naim Ali Melech, he's sitting with Rabbi Eliezer Wenger, but they're in the market. I had to tell this Yaakov Yosef. He had 60 Talmidim with the most choshev Talmidim. You see at a table there. And if I'm bringing or having a tish over there, it's a poor man. Hashlam Mazel. In tattered clothes, walks in, and the Baal Shem Tov asked him to come up to the front and sit next to him. I'll meet him afterwards. Look at this guy is on Bovet, some of this, or what? They asked Baal Shem Tov, well, what's this? So Baal Shem Tov says, when I come to Shemayim after 120 years, I would like to sit somewhere in the top. I'd like to be in the front in Eilam Haba. And they're going to ask me, who are you? To deserve it. I'm going to point back over here. See, I put right next to me this Shlamazel, this Shmegegi over here, this tattered thing. I want to take you over there. So then, they'll put me up front. But this is important. This is important to realize that when we will look at other people favorably, Hashem looks at us. A person comes collecting tzedakah, needs money. You really need the money. You need it. You're not taking some money for extra. You have to have you have to have steak for supper, or whatever it is. You're poor anyways. Why do I have to give you money for a steak? Settle up tuna fish. Settle up peanut butter. I start doing this and interrogating the person. Why do I have to give you tzedakah? You know what happens in Shemayim when they hear this? Oh, you're being so particular about this person. And you're coming and asking me for chesed. You're coming asking me for tzedakah. We learned the Pashas Veschanan that you ask the Eivishter. Mataschinam or whatever. You want things. You want tzedakah. What do you need this for? Why not this? The Eivishter looks at us the way we deal with other people too. If you look at everybody in a positive way, and don't just jump to a negative judgment, in the Shemayim, they will look at you in a positive way also. I want to touch upon a little history in a moment, dealing with Yeshua ben Prachya. Now, it's brought down in Svarim, and we know that from many sikhs of the Rebbe, statements that people said had something to do also with the person's experience. Who was Yeshua ben Prachya that he tells us they have done his Chalad of Kashrus? And basically, this is history which, throughout the ages, a lot of it was not known because the church censored a lot of material from the earlier versions, basically from the Gemara and so on. According to what we have in the Gemara, in the uncensored editions, Yeshua ben Prachya was the Rebbe of Oishayaish, of Yeshu. We're now between December 25th and January 1st. We'll talk about the Jewish side of the history about that individual. Yeshua ben Prachya was his Rebbe. He did certain things wrong, and he sort of was merachik him. And you know the history when they were from Yiddishkeit and he started his own religion and so on. There came a time where Yeshua and Prachya wanted to bring him back. And what? Yeshua and Prachya, because he did certain things wrong, put it this way. He distanced him, he excommunicated him. No, he sort of kicked Yeshu away. Sent him away from him. It's like sometimes kicking a kid out of school, totally expelling, all these things. You have to judge before you do something. Anyways, later he regretted it, he tried to bring him back, and he told Rabbi Yeshua ben Prachya that you taught me the thing that a chayte umachti es harabim will not be given the opportunity to do tshuva. So it's too late. And the truth is it's not, because even though the Gemara says that you're not given the opportunity to do tshuva, if you push your foot into the door and you hold the door, it shouldn't close on you, then they do accept tshuva. It's just that the Eibishter doesn't afford you the opportunities. Hashem doesn't send you the messengers. Hashem doesn't send you the messages to give you the opportunity to do tshuva. That's what it means. However, if you somehow push in there and you're stubborn and you want to do tshuva, even the Yeravam ben Nevat was a chayte matas rab can do tshuva. We see that the Nash at the end did do tshuva. So But anyways, this is brought down as explanation why Yeshua ben Prachia said, that he perhaps was too quick to judge Oisar Ish, and he didn't give him the benefit of doubt, and basically because of that, we have the whole Christian religion. No, he said that we learned from you, which it's brought down in Torah, that a Chayta Machtes Harabim does not give him the opportunity to do tshuva. Now let me get into a little history, because basically, according to the Christian history and theology and everything else, which we date the year 2006, 2007, based on supposedly his birth and so on, and based on when we have a tradition that Yeshua ben Prachia was the Rebbe of Oisar Ish, it doesn't jive, because Rabbi Yeshua ben Prachia lived much earlier. He lived much earlier than 2006 years ago. And basically it comes out that based on our history and the Goyish history, Rabbi Yeshua ben Prachia died approximately 125 years before the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed and so on. So it couldn't have been, according to some opinions, the Seder HaDoros. What comes out basically, according to some opinions, is that their Yotchke and our Yotchke were two different Yotchkes and so on. This is, according to some opinions, trying to get the... however, there is a contemporary historian. His name was Rav Shlomo Rothenberg. He passed away a few years ago. I once heard him give a lecture at a convention somewhere, and he taught. He was his history teacher, basically, in many of the Beis Yaakovs in New York. I mean, he was known as the Gadol Hador when it came to history. He wrote a couple of svarim. I remember once hearing him talk about this whole historical, who was Yotchke and so on. But anyways, I found over here a summary, which I'm going to read you, a very interesting, being that we're doing this period in the calendar. I'm going to read you from Dibat Abam on this Mishnah. He summarizes what Rav Shlomo Rothenberg writes. According to other Jewish historians, there was only one, rather than what others say that there were two Yotchkes. According to other Jewish historians, there was only one. And he was born in the year 3671, more than 150 years before the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash. His mother's name was Miriam, who they call Mary, and he was fathered by Pandira, a non-Jew. His Hebrew name, Oisar Ish, was Yosef. And therefore, in Eastern Europe, when they used to refer to Oisar Ish, to that man, they used to give him, we used to call him Yoshka Pandrik. Why Yoshka Pandrik? What's the name? What the origin of his name, Yoshka Pandrik? Because his name was Yosef, is Yoshka, and his father's name was Pandira, Pandrik. So he was, people always, I grew up always knowing as Yoshka Pandrik. This is the name. In Eastern Europe, they nicknamed Oisar Ish with that name. When we call him Yeshu, and Yeshu, which the Goyim sort of call him J-E-S-U-S, which is similar to Yeshu, Yeshu is Yemach Shemoy V'Zichai. Yeshu is an abbreviation of Yemach Shemoy V'Zichai. His name should be erased in his memory. And the Goyim somehow took this name and they gave it to J-E-S-U-S. Anyways, so in Mitzrayim, he studied under Rabbi Yeshua ben Prachia, and he came back together. He came back to Eretz Yisrael together with Rabbi Yeshua ben Prachia when Shimon ben Shetach, because this is, I'm sure you must have learned in Historia, with Huk and Shimon ben Shetach, with the Prushim, and you learned about Shimon ben Shetach in Historia. Okay. So anyway, so there was a period. The next pair is Shimon ben Shetach we're going to be learning about. So anyways, so Yeshu or Oisar Ish, whichever name you want to call, came back to Eretz Yisrael. Mitzrayim was known for sorcery. Yes. We don't say it in Hebrew. We don't refer to the name of the gospel by that name. We don't say it. We just I mean, you say Yeshu. That's we the one who gave the name. Yeshu means Yemach Shemay V'Zichrei. So his name was Yosef. Yeah. I mean, this is fact. This is known. And there he learned, while he was in Mitzrayim, he learned the art of sorcery and took it with him when he left Mitzrayim. Afterwards, he publicly practiced sorcery and induced people to worship idolatry. It was Yachke who instituted the celebration of Sunday, and he claimed that Hashem spoke to him. But there's different things exactly. I mean, it's not. Anyways, he's also known as Yeshu HaNotzri, the Nazareth. And they call him the Nazareth. Yeshu the Nazareth. I mean, you got the.
He didn't cut his hair. He had long.
No, that doesn't. It's not Nozir, Notzri with a tzaddik, not with a Zion. Because why do they call him? Because he claims. What you learned Perek Yud Aleph in Yeshaya already? No. The Perek about Mashiach? No? Okay. Okay, what? Okay. The Perek in Yeshaya that talks about Mashiach, it says, V'neitze misharoshav yifrach. That a shoot will sprout out from its roots. And that's talking about Mashiach over there. And he referred that pasuk as to himself, that he was the Messiah, he was the Mashiach. So therefore, that's the Neitzev, is the shoot of that pasuk. So therefore, he is also called Yeshu HaNotzri. Anyways, at the age of 36, this is already brought down in the Gemara, Erev Pesach, he was stoned, he was, for an Eved Avodah Zarah, he was then hanged by Bezdin. I mean, this is where the story, the crucifixion comes, because the halacha is that somebody who gets skila, an Eved Avodah Zarah, and a Mevarich Hashem, those two, in addition to getting skila afterwards, had to be hanged right before Shkia, and then they were taken down. I mean, this is a pasuk in Dvarim over there. This is in the halachas. So it's only those two that, in addition to getting the Misa, also it was like a public display. Those are Eved Avodah Zarah, and those who are Megadef as Hashem.
You're right, until they're leaders.
So this is the thing. Okay. So therefore, according to these Jewish historians, the calendar, the way we have it, which we're now starting 2007, has nothing to do with his birth, but rather was actually made 700 years after his death by a Roman priest who based his calendar on a false birth date publicized by the church fathers. Contemporary Catholic historians admit that he was really born more than 90 years before the 2,000 years of the calendar. So it means, again, this is a history which is, we don't have all these dates like archives. But the question is, why did they falsify his birth? So anyways, Shlomo Rothenberg writes that the reason they falsified, and again, this is taken from theories of historians who are involved in it, is that was in order to convince the Goyim who were trying to make him the father of the Catholic religion that the Churban Beis HaMikdash took place right after his death as a punishment for killing him. I mean, the fact is, yes, we did kill him, but it wasn't, again, the crucifixion. According to Gemara, yes. I mean, Sanhedrin killed him because he was a Chayta Machtes Harav. He was a Mesis of Mediach.
So we learned in Historia that the Sanhedrin didn't have the power to kill him, so they asked the Romans to kill him.
Okay, this is, the Gemara in Sanhedrin, which is the most place, it talks about Luke, it talks about Peter and Matthew, it has his Hebrew names of all these, the 5 students, it's all in the Gemara. It's in Gemara, Sanhedrin, Daf Mem Gimel Amud Aleph. I mean, it's all, again, I don't know why ArtScroll didn't put it into their edition. Most Gemaras don't have it because it was censored, and I'm amazed that ArtScroll, who usually didn't put this in either. There is a little small sefer called Chisreidus Hashas, which has in there all the censored parts, because basically there's a lot of stuff in the Gemara that was censored by the church. In the beginning, everything was the church. So this little sefer Chisreidus Hashas has all these different things there. But in fact, it doesn't make sense whether they wrote, but it was that based on what Sanhedrin. So there is a certain thing. Yes, we did kill him. Okay.
You're not supposed to talk about that.
I'm sorry to say, but we have to know our history that there is a basis to it. But it wasn't. Anyways, it's interesting to note that the authentic information they have about him is taken from our sources. The reason is that during his lifetime, the world at large knew very little of him and had no regard for him. It was about 100 years after his death, as history points out, it was mainly Peter who started spreading the knowledge of him, and they're the ones, his sort of disciples, that started building him up and so on. So anyways, this is, Yeshua and Frachia, that he had second thoughts, and that's why he said, Adam Lekavshos. Also, the word Lekap, somebody knew, okay? What is the gematria of the word Kaf? 100. Okay? It could have really said, Avedon es kol Adam Leschus. Why did it say Lekap Schus? And he's telling us that the other person, kaf means leaning towards it. The kaf is like the balance scale. You have a balance scale, each part is a scale. What? No, we translate, no, I'm saying, but kaf is like a spoon. It refers to, on a balance scale, you have the two, in a balance scale, what do? They have like two pots or whatever. It's not pots, it's things where you put the thing that you want to weigh, right? So that's a kaf. So basically, there's the one-sided scale, which is the schusim, and one-sided scale is the averis and the chayiv. So he says, literally what it means is, have it done is called adam lekaf schus. Weigh him or judge him as the sided scale, which is the schus. Okay? The way we want Hashem to judge us. So, but again, he could have simply just said, judge lischus. But he's telling us, lekaf schus, that you should look at the other person 100% favorably. And you have to look at him 100%. You don't have to start worrying this and so on. Another explanation, asay lecha rav, which simply means make for yourself a rav. Another explanation is make yourself a rav. What does that mean, make yourself a rav? There was a chassid of the Alter Rebbe who once said that because of his gaiva, he was able to overcome averos. What was the gaiva? Whenever the Yetzer Hara would come to him, he would say, you know who I am? I'm a chashuv person. I'm a chassid of the Alter Rebbe. You expect me to do this aveira? We'll do the aveira. Asay lecha rav. Look at yourself as an important person. It's below your dignity to do this. Make yourself a rav. It's positive from here. The fact is, a person has to hold himself also a certain amount. You have to have that self-esteem. You have to know who you are. When you will make yourself as a... I remember I once heard this. Something I don't remember. There was a chassid. I think he's still alive. A shliach from the Rebbe. And he used to go to function some places. So many places, your Rosh Hashiva or a Rav, they ask you to come to their table and so on. This person, he come to shul, many people come, they sit in the back, they wait till somebody calls you up. He would walk all the way to the front, sit. By Mizrach, he was a shliach, he was a Rav in shul or whatever. So one of his grandchildren, somebody once asked him, where do you have the audacity? You come into a strange place and you walk all the way to the top. He says, what do you mean? I'm the Rebbe shliach. That means I'm the Rebbe. Where else does the Rebbe belong except in the front? That takes a certain stolz. That takes a certain feeling. I am shliach shalada. I'm the Rebbe shliach. Half I am the Rebbe. Because I represent the Rebbe. So you're going to put the Rebbe in the back of the shul? It takes a stolz. You have to have a certain character feeling in that way. But that's what it means also. Asay lecha rav. make yourself, for you, if you are a Rav, you're a great person. And if you do it that way, you'll avoid doing Averis. Okay, we'll continue next week, Richard. Okay, first I want to explain an explanation from the Rebbe on the last part of the Mishnah, Ve'evedonas kol ha'adam l'kam schus. The Mefarshim on the Mishnah, and in particular the Rambam, because the Rambam also wrote a Pirush HaMishnayos, where he explains Mishnayos in addition to the Sefer HaMitzvahs and the Meir Nevuchim and the Yad HaChazaka. The Rambam wrote a commentary on Mishnayos. It's called Pirush HaMishnayos La Rambam. So the Rambam, as well as other Mefarshim on Mishnayos, explain that when do we say that a person should be done Adam L'Kam Schus is when a person did an action, and the action can be interpreted in more than one way, either in a positive way or in a negative way. So the Mishnah tells us that if it's something which can be interpreted in either way, then you should interpret it L'Kam Schus, and to say that there was no Avera done. And definitely his intentions were for good, and not that he's wicked and vicious and so on. The same thing is, even if we know that a person did an Avera, and it's obvious that he did an Avera, so the idea of being Melamed in L'Schus means that we should say that he did it b'shoigeg or b'oinus. I mean, it's obvious, you can't see that it wasn't an Avera. But nevertheless, you can still say that he didn't know he wasn't allowed to do it, it was against his will, it was ba'inus. Unless the Rambam says that he's known as a Rasha. I mean, if he's a well-known Rasha, you don't have to be Melamed Schus, because everything he does is wicked. But we're talking about regular people that you can justify one way or the other. And that's why, since you can justify his actions in being in a way that's not negative, you have that obligation to be done on the L'Kam Schus. The Alter Rebbe also explains there's another Mishnah that says, Al todines chavercha shatagiyah l'mkaimai. You should not judge a person until you're in his shoes. I mean, until you're in his place. That literally means it's very easy for us to be judgmental of other people. Do you know his life experiences? Do you know what he's going through that you're already making the judgments? Because many times people do things depending on the adverse effects of his life and so on. He may be troubled, he may be other things there. So it's very easy to judge him in a negative way. So this is what the literal meaning means, Ad Shetagiyah L'Mkaimei. If what? Again, it's because there's ways of looking at in that way that there must be reasons that's something else disturbing him. I mean, the fact is, if people have, it shouldn't be like that, but if people have problems at home, very often they take it out on other people as well. It could be a CEO in business, it could be a supervisor, it could be a principal, it could be a teacher, it could be a parent also. You know, a parent can come home and sometimes take it out on the kids because he got a scolding from his boss that he wasn't doing he was laxing off his job. So he's upset and so on. So that's the idea also. Until you know really what's behind it, you have to be able to not to judge him, because there's a lot of things that can affect a person's actions. So it's not necessarily that he's taking something out against you. You happen to have been the wrong person at the wrong place. You know, he had built in anger, something bad happened or whatever it is, and you happen to be the first one to walk and to talk to him, and he just lashed out on you. You know, it's like a piece of dynamite. It's going to blow up, and people walked out in the wrong place. You know, walking in the minefield. You happen to have been there, Ahmad al-Islam. So again, it's in our thinking process, the way we look at other people, we should be able to justify that. Now, what the Alter Rebbe explains in this explanation, that you should not judge a person Ad Shetagiyah L'Mkaimei, meaning that even if he is a person who hangs out in the wrong places and so on, is you should realize the reason he is like that, because the Makim caused it to him. That means very simply, not that he is a person that he is really bad and so on, but there's other reasons causing him to do it. Take, for example, first we find it right away by Yitzchak. When Yaakov came to him and in disguise, and he felt them, he spoke, he said, Akel Kol Yaakov Yadayim B'dei Esav. What was the meaning of that? I mean, it was strange that Akel Kol Yaakov, as the Mefarshim explained there, and Rashi says over there, She'ein Shem Shamayim Shogro B'piv. Yaakov Avinu comes and he says, Mazeh Mahalta, how come you did it so quick? So he says, Ki Hashem Hikali, because Hashem made it happen and so on. And Yitzchak hears this, Ki Hashem Hikali. Esav never used the name Hashem. And all of a sudden, the name of Hashem is coming out. This is Kol Yaakov. It's not Esav. What the explanation? Why did Esav, in fact, not use Hashem's name? The Mefarshim explained, because he was always out in the wilderness. He was a hunter. He was amongst dead animals. He was other places there. There's halachas of when you're allowed to say Hashem's name. So because of his surroundings and so on, he wasn't accustomed to saying Hashem's name. So that's why Hashem Shammai was not Shogeg B'piv. It's not that he was against the Eibush and so on. It was because of the place, the occupation. He was a Yedei Tzayid. He was a hunter. So Hashem Shammai was not Shogeg B'piv. The same thing over here. Sometimes a person acts the way he acts and does things because of the company he keeps, because his business requires it. And it's never, not everybody is able to, you hear some people, the language that they develop, having to hang out with certain kind of people in business, and they have to go out with them, and so on, and they hear other people, it has an effect on us also. But this is what the Alter Rebbe says, this is also judging him properly. Not that really he's bad and so on. It's somehow the things he does and so on has brought this about. So the Rebbe explains that when a Yid is given this kind of an Nisayon, and this is all basically an Nisayon, especially when you have to earn a Parnasa, and different people earn their Parnasas in different ways, and many times the earning of a Parnasa is a big Nisayon, because you have to be around the kind of people that you don't necessarily approve of, that you don't want, and you have to try to distance yourself from them. But nevertheless, if Hashem gave you that Nisayon, it is proof that you're able to overcome that Nisayon. Okay? Very simple. That Ein HaKadosh Baruch Hu Ba B'Tzrunyim B'Yosav. We're coming up now in the 30 days of Achada. This is what the Friedrich Rebbe brings down, the Maimon Basel Gadi. Ein HaKadosh Baruch Hu Ba B'Tzrunyim B'Yosav. The Eibush doesn't come demanding, over demanding. Ki Hashani Mevakesh Eini Mevakesh Lefi Koichi El Lefi Koicham. The Eibush says, when I demand something from a Yid, it's based on their koyach, not on my koyach. So when the Eibishter puts a Yid into a Nisayon, the Eibishter also knows that based on his koyach that the Eibishter had blessed him with, he does have the power to overcome that Nisayon. The Eibishter doesn't give people Nishayonos that they cannot overcome. He does not look for you to fail. He wants you to pass the Nisayon. If it's something that you cannot do, he is not going to give you the Nisayon. Different people are blessed with different kinds of keiches and so on. So when you are being malamet zchus, the Rebbe says, on a person, it's not only to remove the guilt from him, but rather by being malamet zchus, you are revealing the hidden keiches that the person has to overcome the Nisayon. And that's why the Mishnah isn't happy just with saying that Al Todn es Chaveira Lekav Chayva, but rather in the positive. You should be done as Kol Odom Lekav Schus, because through this, by being done Lekav Schus, we will arouse the koiches that this person was given, and that he should be able to fix up his wrong. It means when you're medaber d'azchus, you're able to fix this thing up. Look. There was a worker, the Gemara tells of a story of a worker who had to get paid, and he didn't pay him on time. And anyways, I don't remember all the details. Finally, eventually, he paid him, but he asked him at the different incidents. I don't remember specific details, but there were about 4 or 5 different incidents where he was doing things. It's the same thing. For example, we sometimes judge people. A person can't pay a bill, yet we see that he's going on vacation, he's going somewhere. It's very easy to jump to conclusions and so on. Look, he went on vacation somewhere, and he owes this grocery bill. He owes me $300, and yet he's going to Florida. You can jump to a conclusion. Right away, whatever. Maybe look into it. Maybe it was a birthday present from his father-in-law, which was given only for vacation in Florida, not to pay grocery bills. You can't have an argument on that. It's very easy to go and look at other people's houses and look at other people's actions, and right away always think, we seem to always know everybody else's business. We seem to always know everybody's business. So anyways, this person asked him later when he paid him, and he said, tell me, at each of these incidents, which I don't remember in detail, what were you thinking when I refused you? And he gave a dan l'kav schus of why you couldn't pay him at that time, even though he seemed to have the money. Money was tied up, real estate and everything else. And he says this was really the fact, and all of them. And then he blessed him for being dan l'kav schus with great brachas. And the person afterwards got a lot of brachas from this. But this is the idea of dan l'kav schus. Stop being judgmental about other people. We love doing that. We love looking at other people's bank books. We think we know about everything about the other person. Rightfully or wrongfully, the other person. But who are we to make the decisions? Who are we to know what the other person is doing? But that's the idea of dan l'kav schus. Look in a positive way. It's possible. Yes, it's possible that he got a birthday present from his father-in-law, from his father, whatever. And again, if I give somebody a birthday present, I don't have to pay your grocery bills for you. I don't have to pay your tuition. I have to be giving you because I feel you need a vacation, you overwork. I'm entitled to give you what I want. I don't have to give you for something that I don't want to get. Maybe that's why I didn't give you cash. Maybe that's why I gave you a ticket to Florida instead, to have the vacation. So you can't have kindness to you while you're not paying this and you're going on vacation. You look at it that way, it's a different game. It's a different thinking process. But this is what the Mishnah is telling us, that Dan is kol adam l'kav schus. Look at people in a positive way all the time. We'll be happier people also. We'll be happy people, or we won't begrudge the other person, or the same thing, the union of fakinim yanim and so on. Everybody is different. Okay, let me get back to Asay L'Charav, the beginning of the Mishnah. Okay, now, the idea of Asay L'Charav, which again has many different interpretations to it, is that another interpretation of Asay L'Cha, of K'nei L'Cha Chaver, is that a person who should never really learn on his own, shouldn't be doing independent studying. You can make mistakes. Our minds are not always right. So that's why you need to have a Rav, or K'nei L'Cha Chaver, Chaver, others interpret as Svarim. Svarim, a man's best friend also. It means if you get stuck on something, you can't have interpretation, check it up in Svarim, look up the Mefarshim and so on. And so it could mean either a Chaver, a real Chaver, where you can discuss your questions and give and take, and you can possibly reach a conclusion and understanding. And if you don't have a real Chaver, then at least let your Sefer be the Chaver. That's what it means that Svarim, of course, you have to purchase. I mean, that's you have a library, you have to look it up, and so on. So Knei Lecha Chaver, purchase for yourself Svarim. And another explanation that's given on Knei Lecha Chaver is the word Knei comes also from the word Kana. Kana is anybody? A what? Not a branch, you make quills, pens out of it. Knei Lecha Chaver is basically write down, learn to write. Learn to write what you hear, learn to write down your chedushim, your thoughts, and so on. And this will be a friend to you. I mean, you get your thoughts down in writing, or you hear, I mean, basically, say for example, the Frierdiker Rebbe was very big in, and why do we have the Frierdiker Rebbe's Zechreines? I mean, the Frierdiker Rebbe used to hear stories and others. By Chassidim, he used to write everything down. The Frierdiker Rebbe was a very big writer. Everything. He didn't leave it to memory. He wrote everything down. And that's why Baruch Hashem, we have, and he has everything detailed, where it comes from, and so on. Knei Lecha, write down your things, especially even your own thoughts. Later on, you can review it. If anybody ever has had to do editing jobs, of any of your own things there, you first write your draft, you look it over, then you want to fix it up. If it's in writing, it's easy to fix it up. It's just, you speak in orally and everything else. It's not the same thing. You can't review what I say. But if you have it in writing, especially things that you make your own chedushim, you had a question on this, you thought of this kind of an answer, put it down. Time will go by. You look it over again. Nah, this is no good. This is good. This may be a little fixing. So that's another interpretation of Knei Lecha Chaver, using the word Knei as the word Kana. Another explanation that's brought down also is Yeshua ben Prachia once said, Kol ha'imeli alayla. Anybody who would tell me, go up to it, means become a great person. Later on, of course, he became the Nasi. But I would say, he said, I would tie him up and place him in front of a lion. This is what Yeshua ben Prachia said. The person who tells me, become a leader or whatever it is, I would tie him up and put him in front of a lion. Why? Because the Mishnah elsewhere tells us, Usno es harabonos. Hate leadership, hate power. Rabbanos does not necessarily mean the word Rav as rabbi. We should not look for leadership. So, it's as it says there, leadership mikaveres as bailov. It buries those people. You have to deal with the communities and everything else. It shortens your life. A lot of aggravated. A person shouldn't have to want. They force you, they demand you become the leader. But to go and chase after Rabbanos, the Mishnah says, Shnos HaRabbanos, hate it. It says Shnos HaRabbanos have some malacha. Like work and do it. You don't have to be a leader. You don't have to be the boss. It's very aggravating and so on. So anyways, this is what Yeshua ben Prachia said. If someone tells me, go up and be a leader and so on, I would tie him and throw him to the lions. But don't talk like that. It's not. No, I don't need it. But nevertheless, if a person has no choice, he's forced to be a Rav, he's forced to be a leader. The people demand it. Then he says, at least Knei Lecha Chaver, he had a partner, Nida Arbeli. He was the Av Bezdin. They worked as a team. So to be your own boss, making your own decisions, that definitely not. But if you're ready, you have to. You got things that you have to have teamwork. You're ready when you have a teamwork and everything else. it's not the same thing really as it's not the same thing anymore, because you discuss and make you able to think over and so on. Right, GO president? There's a big difference between yourself and working with somebody else, right? You wouldn't want to take the responsibility yourself. Definitely not. Okay, so it's you have somebody capable together. You work as a team. At least it takes away some of the aggravation. Maybe now you have somebody else to blame it on instead of you. It's each one can now throw it on the other person. Right? It's their fault instead of being my fault. Okay. Also, I think I mentioned before already that Aseh Lecha Rab, it means also that you should make yourself a teacher and go, if you have the capabilities, to go and teach others as well. There's also the idea that why doesn't it say get yourself a Talmud? Okay, it says, the Mishnah says, I learn from my students more than anybody else, because students know how to challenge a teacher. So, I say Talmud. Get yourself a Talmud. A Talmud really is sharp in your mind. He'll be over you and all that. Nevertheless, he doesn't say Knei Lecha Talmud because Talmidim are already choosy. Talmidim Loilam Yilmad Odam. I mean, you choose who to learn from is already in the choice of a Talmud. Chava, if it could be friends, I mean, Knei Lecha, buy a Talmud you can't purchase even. A Talmud, he has to be learning, a Chava is not where he's becoming a recipient. A Chava is hand in hand together. But a Talmud, he has to accept you as a Rebbe, so you can't go Knei Lecha Talmud, that's already in the hands of the Talmud. Right? Okay, there's a medrash that tells us also. It says that Aaron HaKohen used to give everybody shalom, and there's a Mishnah also says, "Have a makdim shalom l'chol adam." You should give shalom, and even to the Rishoyim he would greet them. Now, what would happen when this Rasha suddenly wants to do an Aveira? He would think to himself, Aaron gave me Shalom Aleichem. Aaron Kohen Gadol gave me a Shalom Aleichem. If he knew who I was, yeah, Shalom Aleichem and all that. So, it would prevent him from doing Averos also. And this is what I mentioned also last week, that when you make yourself a Talmud Chacham, you avoid doing Averos. I mean, that you have to have that little gaiva, and which is a prevention by considering how great you are and have that little ego. I mean, at least in this element, don't use that on others, only in your own relationship with the Yetzer Hara. I mean, don't try to push it onto other people, but at least with the Yetzer Hara is going to try to tell you to do Aveira. Me? Great Talmud Chacham? I'm going to do this? You're insulting me, Yetzer Hara. So Aseh Lecha Rab means make yourself also the Talmud Chacham, which this helps you stay away from Aveiros. Now, I'll finish up just one more thing and then we'll go to the next Mishnah. It says, Evedon es kol adam lekavschus. The word es seems to be extra, right? We know that from all over. We learn out, include your older brother, your grandparents. There's a lot of different limudim we learn out. Of course, it could have said what's the word es? The same thing over here grammatically. It could have said Evedon kol adam lekavschus. What is another definition of the word es? We find that sometimes Chumash with. Sometimes the word es means with. Sometimes it's just stylistic that it adds, but sometimes it means the word with. So over here is that, and this is based on what the Baal Shem Tov tells us, when you see somebody else doing an Aveda, or you see something wrong, what does the Baal Shem Tov say? Show something about yourself too. You only see your own blemishes in the other person. The other person basically is a mirror image. This is what the Baal Shem Tov says. If you are able to see something wrong in the other person, that means you have something, could be finite and small or whatever it is. But if you are able to notice not chasar in the other person, you've got the problem. You've got to work on it. So the same thing over here, he says, Don es kol adam means Don in kol adam. You should judge yourself together with everybody else. Means when you will look and you're seeing the other person, judge yourself at the same time. And through this, it'll become l'kav zchus, because when you will judge yourself based on what you see in the other person, then you know you have to do tshuva. You have to correct yourself. So he says that you should be tadin as kol adam, meaning im kol adam. Judge yourself together with the other person what you see, and that will bring about l'kav zchus, that you will have zchusim, you will do tshuva, and you'll come back. Okay, now we're going to go to the next Mishnah, Mishnah Zayin. Mishnah Zayin is being said by Nita Abeli, who was the other half of the pair, Yeshua ben Prachya. Don't you have the sheet in front of you? Nitai Arbeli Aina. Nitai Arbeli says, Ha'cheik mishochein ra. Distance yourself from a bad neighbor. Where do we see this in Rashi? Brings it down by who? By Kairach. What's the expression? So therefore, distance yourself from a bad neighbor, because you may get hurt together with him. Right? I mean, Kairach got swallowed up together with Dasan Aviram, and so on. It means don't learn from his actions. From a neighbor, it's very easy from a neighbor to learn, because you're next to each other pretty much, and therefore he says, distance yourself. And don't attach yourself. This is a stronger term. Chibur, becoming like one with a rasha. The Chachamim tell us that somebody who attaches himself to the Shoyim, even though he doesn't do what they're doing, it's guilt by association. You're going to get rewarded just like them. As the Chazal give an example, if somebody goes into a tannery where they make hide and so on, okay? Even though you didn't do anything, you didn't take anything, you walk out, you smell like you just came out of a tannery. In the same way, you walk out of a bingo hall, or you walk out in other places where people smoke, you didn't do anything. But you're a giveaway where you are. Okay? You are a giveaway. Somehow the atmosphere around has an effect on you. Even though you didn't do anything wrong, and you didn't do anything. You're around smokers, you're around drunks, you can smell that you were there. You know, a person spends the night in a bar, didn't do anything bad, totally innocent. But he walks out, oh, you were in the bar, whatever it might be, it has an effect. So he says, don't become attached, don't become close to Rishayim. And what? No, Russia means that we know that he's a well-known Russian, so in other words. What? No, I'm giving you an example that how that has an effect on you from just being in an area. The same thing when you're next to a Russia. What? No. I'm not talking about the. I'm talking your body odors that come out your clothes are going to get affected by the alcohol that's all over the room, by the smoke that's in the room, by the chemicals in the tannery. When you walk out there, We're talking about nothing doing it. You did nothing. But people know where you are. Okay, you walked into a tannery, you walked in a place where everybody is smoking. You didn't smoke, but you were there. Oh, you were a place where people were smoking, right? I mean, what it was. I'm not talking about judging people. We're talking about the effect that outside. We're talking about in physical things has an effect. Where you are, it gets. I mean, you walk into a place where all the women put on high dosages of perfume and fragrances. Okay, you don't have nothing coming out, and you're going to walk out, and they're going to think that you have who knows what kind of the aromas that were in the room are there by you also. It has an effect, right? It clings to you. So the same thing he says, when you shouldn't be closely connected with Rishayim, because even though you yourself are not going to learn from their ways, but you're going to get into trouble. You're going to get into trouble. This is what we call in English guilt by association. What happens if somebody hangs around with a bunch of bad friends, and a couple of bad friends, and they decide, you know what, we're going to go do some shoplifting. You know, you walk into the store there, and there's the video camera that they have there, and they see these 5, 6 teenagers walking together. You know, you're a good kid, you just hang around there as good friends. You know. But the video camera picked you all walking in together. And then they pick out how a few of them were caught with shoplifting. Are you going to be able to plead innocence when the police come and they lock you all 6 up? You didn't pick up the food, but you are together with them. There's guilt by association. That's what he means, al tischabel l'rasha. Meaning that there's going to be an effect on you detrimental, because when something happens to them, you're going to get swallowed up together with them. It means you're in the wrong place at the wrong time. You're with a bad company. And even though you yourself are not guilty of anything. This is advice that the Gabriel is giving you. Okay, you have to be careful, that's all. And the third thing he says, Al tisyoesh mina puranesh. Don't give hope on punishment. What does that mean? Don't give up hope, yiyush, on punishment. That means, Yayish, when you give up hope, it's called being miyayish. Okay, this says al tisyayish. Don't give up hope on punishment. That means you shouldn't say this connected with the Russia. Look how successful the Russia is. Look how things are going well with him. You know, it's a good time. Let me connect with the Russia. Things are going great. He says al tisyayish min ha'paronish. Everything has its time and its place. You should know that he's going to get punished in the right time. Could be unexpectedly. You know, we see this nowadays very often with government scandals, with business scandals, people doing all kinds of things, and you want to join with them, take advantage of the scandals, and all of a sudden it falls upon you, and you're getting into trouble as well. And this is really connected with the al tischabel l'rasha. Why do you want to connect to the Russia? Because you see things are going good for the Russia. He's doing bad. He's being successful. You know, he's not getting thrown to jail. He's committed 22 robberies, and he's Baruch Hashem escaped and all that. Ultimately, you don't get away with it. We hear this all the time in the news. All kinds of crimes, serial criminals who do whatever they do, from anything as low as robbery to other kinds of worse, heinous crimes. Ultimately, they get caught on it. They get caught on it. So now, instead of being tried for one crime, they'll be tried for 50 crimes, 30 crimes, and so on. That's what it means, Don't think, that means don't give up on punishment. Don't give up hope thinking that person, the Russia, is not going to get punished. He's going to get punished just as well. Now, Nita Bailey is really coming to add on to what Yeshua ben Prachya said. Yeshua ben Prachya said that you should be danas kol adam l'kavskos, and kinei l'cha chava, get yourself a chava. So, if you take these words at face value, you're going to join yourself with Rishayim as well. That is called the Kafschus. It's not really a Rasha. So what's wrong? I'll pick friends, not a Rishayim. So Nidya Abeli didn't want to let his colleague's statement stand as it is without further elaboration. So he goes ahead and he says that in this klal that Yeshua ben Prachia said, it does not include Rishayim Gemurim. Somebody who's a definite, well-known, accepted Rasha, because a Rasha, you're not supposed to be down the Kafschus. That's called, I mean, someone who's a well-known Rasha, and you know that he's a criminal and everything else, we don't look for him to justify. Such a person, Danis L'Kafschus doesn't apply, and therefore, Hachek Mishachim, Al Tischavel Adam Rasha. So, the way it's explained in Medrash Shmuel was one of the main commentaries on Pirkei Avos, explains it, that he is coming to add and clarify what Yeshua ben Prachia said. So it doesn't mean for everybody. And we'll continue the mission next week.